sending things to like schools or venues, so you have to like get security.
Oh my God. So you had to deal with that?
It's stupid for, again, something that was a nice side project that I thought would be fun to do on True TV.
You'd just gotten through your depression and now this.
Yeah, which honestly, there was a part of me like, you're trying to kill me. You're like, I just 2 years ago, this would have been perfect.
There's your joke.
There's the punchline you were looking for. Yeah,
we got it. Where were you 2 years ago?
I just wanted to start living 2 years ago. It's not now. I just had my epiphany.
Yeah. So you got, but all in all, Hank Azaria never talked to you? No,
but I've heard that he's done a lot of his own work on race, and he's like read a lot and he studied a lot and he's done his own. And to me, that's kind of what I was hoping other people would do. I just wanted this to be a spark point, I thought, for having this conversation. And it looks like the only person that had it was Hank, which is like a fucking bummer.
Well, if the movie is honest, it seemed like that's what you were gunning for.
I was trying to get a larger fucking conversation and like I appreciate that guy for actually. I mean, I get why he didn't speak at the time, and I was annoyed at the time, but the fact this dude did the work, that's what you hope, like, people with any sort of privilege do.
I think it did do that. I think a lot of things are happening, even in the shadow of this dismantling of our government that may or may not take, is that there have been a lot of proactive events and movements going on that clearly are having an impact. I think to deny that thing was provocative. I mean, I watched it and it was provocative to me, and you know, and I'm a fairly, like I'm old and but I obviously it would resonate with me, but it definitely got in there and I learned a few new things, and so I don't think you should discredit it in any way just because a bunch of fucking monsters came at you. But
yeah, but also keep in mind, like, as a stand-up, what do you want people to see? You want them to see your stand-up.
Yeah, I know, but dude, what made me famous was a goddamn podcast. So I was going to shows and I had my 2,000 listeners, saying to each other on comment boards, we should go support Marc. I'm like, what do you mean support? I've been doing stand-up 25 years. I need an audience. I don't need fucking a support group. And then then people would be like, I really like your stuff. And I'd be like, well, what do you like? Like, people would come up to me after the show. Don't fucking tell me about what you want to be known for.
I really like your stuff. I'm doing this over 2 decades.
I didn't know why they knew me. Why did you know me? It took me years to integrate the two to where they became one thing and it didn't matter. Like, there are still people that see me on Glow and they don't know that I do anything else.
But
it's crazy, dude.
But they're going to want to do they're going to come to your stand-up. If we ever have stand-up again, like, they're going to come to the gigs, obviously. I mean,
no, that's fine. I get it. But they're all surprised. Like, I just know you from Glow. I never knew you did this. I'm like, how could you not know? I've been pounding my head against the wall for 30 fucking years. I've done 50 Conan O'Briens.
I've been performing in nondescript basements for 30 years. How are you not?
Why isn't everybody in the loop? I'm on Twitter. Do you have Twitter? But the way to look at that, Hari, from a guy who's put it into perspective, is see yourself as always discoverable.
Yeah, that's true. I am Googleable.
No, but I mean, literally, people can find your shit and be like, who's this guy?
Right.
Let's go check him out.
Right.
But you're okay now? What'd you do? Did you take medicine or you didn't?
I'm great.
No.
No, I mean, yeah, I've been good. I think the last 5 years, it's always up and down, but it's not living in the down. And it's the idea that, how when you're really depressed, it's the same day for years. It's just the same day. Like, being able to wake up and the next day being the next day is remarkable.
Oh, because your perception is fucked. Yeah, I in retrospect don't believe I ever had actual depression. I think I suffer from paralyzing anxiety, future thinking, and I get to a point of dread that causes a type of paralysis that feels like depression, but it's actually at its core anxiety. So if I treat it as such, and I can get back into the present and sort of reconfigure how I'm approaching the day, I have some success at that. Whereas I think depression is paralyzing no matter what you do. That the level of dread I can experience, and also the level of, a lot of times it has to do with me not necessarily doing what I need to do to feel better, or like, there's this, I think there's a thing of like, if I could, like, I think, I don't think it's a South Asian thing, but I think you and I are very hard on ourselves, and that the expectations we have on ourselves are sort of hard to meet, if not impossible. So when you set that,
right.
When you set that up for yourself, you're only in the state of self-punishment. And eventually that's going to become exhausting, and you're going to disappoint yourself and fall into a hole somehow. So
I think that's true. I think there's a great deal of self-flagellation, and that just is exhausting after a while.
Yeah. And eventually, you just it has to do with, faulty self-parenting, expectations that were unmet, or whatever you're projecting to. It's a deep wiring thing. But I think what I'm saying now is that I think your success and maybe the baby, but also that, your comedy coming, like a lot of these things that we didn't have self-esteem before, but you do stuff where you kind of can't deny it after a certain point, where you're like, I feel better. Like, why do I feel better about myself? Because you've done some amazing shit.
Yeah.
You can't even take it? You can't even take that?
I think part of it, in this, right now, as you say this, I am 20 again, and I'm just kind of taking it in like, Marc thinks I've done some good stuff. That's nice.
Can't Hari think he did some good stuff? Can't we get Hari to think?
Did you like the special? The special was funny, right?
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
It was good, right?
Yeah, it was tight. It was good. It was funny.
Yeah.
Everything landed.
It did land. Yeah,
I could see you put the work in. You wrote the good jokes. You ran that shit for at least a year. Some of it.
That's correct. That's absolute.
Yeah, you did good, man.
Thanks.
So what's this podcast?
So W. Kamau Bell and I have a podcast called Politically Reactive that we did before the last election and continued a year into the Trump presidency. And then we stopped doing it, and we just kept getting emails and tweets and people after shows coming up and saying, hey, when are you bringing the podcast back? And it's like, it's been 3 years. I don't think we're bringing it back. And we decided, between COVID and the demand for it, that it was time to bring it back. It's definitely it's a political podcast, but more than that, it's an activist podcast. I mean, we certainly, we don't have politicians on as much as we have people that are working on the ground, who are organizers, academics. What's cool about it is that we can talk about something like gerrymandering, which we did in, I think, one of the first seasons, and that can be used in like college classes and high school classes, which wasn't the intention. Or we could just be like, goofing around like, we did with like Hassan Minhaj or, Asif Manvi. We're having Ilana Glazer on soon. Like, the cool thing about the podcast is that we're able to be light, be ourselves. I mean, we're great friends, so that definitely lubricates the thing, and still be able to talk about stuff that maybe would have been seen as wonky otherwise. And it's forward moving. Like, it's not really, this isn't a what do the Republicans think, address both sides. No, it's a podcast with a very clear agenda to it, and a very
also
clear
like
worldview.
At this point, people need to, people are isolated and they feel alone, they feel crazy, and those, your voices and your ability to see things, the two of you, and be light, be heavy, kind of run the gamut of emotions, be funny. It's very helpful to people who are not able to get out much anymore.
Also, I mean, I think it's a very good friendship, and I think that's really what drives it too. It's like these two friends who care about like the same things, who are both comedians, who have this incredible dynamic, and who are very inquisitive and very thoughtful. I mean, I think that's part of what drives it. Good. And also, I mean, Kamau and I used to be on the phone, and we'd have these amazing calls, and we're like, this should be a podcast. Yeah. And that's kind of what we want this thing to be. We want that, except with a bunch of brilliant people also teaching us stuff.
Great. I'm excited that you got it back up, and and I look forward to the new hour about depression and anxiety. So
Thanks.
Maybe you ought to
Thanks.
get to work on that.
I'm glad that we did some workshopping today. I haven't been on stage in a long time, so that was good. That was good.
You tagged it, man. You got a real good tag out of that.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark. One quick thing. I just want to say that I love my father very much, and the man worked very hard. And in case he's listening to this, and he will be, Dad, I love you. You're a good dad. You're going to be a great grandfather, and I just want you to know that.
Nice.
That's all. Yeah.
You might want to maybe call him too. Give him a heads up.
Mom, you're a very strong person. I don't want to make it sound like you were purely a victim of fate that didn't have your own autonomy. You absolutely do have your own autonomy. But I do think the weepy immigrant story sells better, Mom, and you know that.
Good.
So
I'm glad you got. Maybe I'll do that with my parents if I can figure out some nice things to say.
Do you like the cop-out deconstruction at the end of this interview?
No, I think it's a great closer, and I think that's how you're going to close your anxiety depression show.
Do you think Stuart Lee will like it? Because ultimately, that's what this is about.
I think he'll like it if you're going to have to pace it a little slower and more deliberately.
Okay.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Take care, man.
All right, that was Hari. Again, the podcast, Politically Reactive, with Hari and W. Kamau Bell. You can get that. It's back. You can get that where you get podcasts. A special on Netflix, Warn Your Relatives, is up. And his documentary, The Problem with Apu, is now on HBO Max. And please, a good reminder for everyone, if you're ever stopped at a railway crossing and the signals are flashing and you don't see the train, or it appears to be moving slow, and you're thinking maybe you could get across the tracks before the train comes, think about this. Even if the engineer sees you and applies emergency brakes right away, it can take a train over a mile to stop. Over a mile to stop. By that time, it's too late, and the resulting crash will be deadly. So stop. Trains can't. And now enjoy the failed butter cake blues. Boomer, Monkey, LaFonda. Live.